Well, hello, anybody that wants to watch this video. Just hanging out down here doing some body work. I've got the side skirts pulled off the GSX. This is the main side skirt, rocker cover for a 98 Mitsubishi Eclipse GSX, a 2G DSM. And this is the front cap. And actually, I wanted to share some stuff real quick before we get into this. We're plastic welding right now. We had a crack right here in the body. Well, not the body, but the side skirt. And the crack was right here. There's a little faint line left. I've been sanding this thing down and basically trying to fix it all up. I had one broken clip right there. I've already plastic welded that, and sure enough, as I was going through everything, I found another one, which is right down here in the corner. Let's see if I can get you guys centered here. So right here we have a little plastic welder I picked up from Harbor Freight. It's essentially a soldering iron. No big deal. These things are cheap. They work fantastic. And this right here is a little piece of screen that comes in the kit. You guys can buy more screen online or wherever. But this is a little mount, and as you can see, it's broken off. It's completely busted. Well, not completely, but 90% of the way there. It's only held on by the front here. So what we're going to do is there's a little outline here. We're going to take this little piece of screen that I cut. We're going to fit it right back here. Get it back out of there. And this is all plastic stuff, plastic side skirts. I'm going to stick this right in like so, and I'm going to melt it all together with the tip of this. So I'm going to force this in here, warm it up, and first we've got to position it where we want it. And this is the part that holds the clips in to the side of the body there for the side skirt. We're going to go ahead and warm up this metal wire and get it to melt into the plastic right here. Once we get it melted in, it's going to hold this piece in place. And like I said, this is a cheap Harbor Freight plastic welding thing. You see a little smoke come off, so make sure you guys are in a ventilated area. Or do it in your basement like I'm doing it. Whatever, right? Doesn't matter. A little smoke from plastic never hurt nobody. It's probably a lie. So we're going to fix this mount point right here. I'm actually going to do this in 2 spots. You can see it's making little, it melts the plastic. It's making little indentations in here, and it's going to seat the screen inside of the plastic. Then your side skirt, hopefully, won't move again, and you'll be able to slap it back in the car and not worry about your mounting points shaking and wiggling and moving all over the place. So I usually just work my way across, get it started in a couple of spots here. Here's warming up the screen here. Pressing the stuff in. And eventually, it will seat on the bottom side here. We'll have to move to the other side, which is this back wall right here, and to fix it where we want it. So this part right here, just attaching to the piece, it's not really going to hurt anything. Smooth it out. Now we're going to give it a couple of seconds to cool off. It is smoking like crazy, so ventilation is key. You don't want to be breathing in this plastic smoke. It's just not good for you. Yeah, it might be good for you. Who knows? It's like 2022. Maybe 2035, they're like, hey, plastic smoke, it's good for you. Breathe it in. Huff it all day long. I doubt that. But anyways, they give you these little plastic rods. We're going to go ahead and affix this to this back wall here so this doesn't move anymore. You guys can see, I can kind of pick it up and move it around right now. I want to position it as close as I can to where it was from factory. So now the bottom's melted in. I'm going to melt some of the top in. Get this metal mesh stuff stuck in here a little bit. And then we'll move on to filling it over with these plastic rods. And this is the driver's side off the GSX. The passenger side is still in the car. I actually just dropped the subframe today, which will be in an upcoming video. You guys will see all about that. Because mine is broken from rust, and it sucks. Driving it down the highway, and sure enough, started shaking like crazy while I was going down the interstate at 70 miles an hour. Couldn't figure out why. Kept checking the front end, but it wasn't the front end. I was like, oh, maybe the Lobro joint or a carrier bearing for the drive shaft is messed up. Nope, that wasn't the case. There's a big old crack from rust on the rear subframe. Mind you, the body above it looks pretty good. Anyways, we're pressing this in, getting it nice and smooth. We're going to let that cool for a second here. I don't know, 10, 15 seconds or so. There. So now it's not wiggling around. It's not moving a bunch. Take a little plastic rod here that they give you. It's just a little stick of ABS plastic. We're going to go ahead and feed this in here and just basically cover up all the spots that we started our plastic weld with. It's kind of similar to soldering. Not so much TIG welding, but definitely soldering. So you melt a little bit, you melt a little bit of the original plastic, and you're going to just kind of blend them together, cap it off, and then you'll retain your factory body mounting point. So your side skirt cap doesn't fall off and doesn't sag or any of that. Just kind of dab it on there, get the material on, work my way across it. Eventually, this will all be set, and we won't have to worry too much about it. And go back over it with the flat part of this iron, this triangular part, smooth it all out. Right now I'm just using the tip of it. I found this little tool from Harbor Freight to be super, super helpful. You guys can find these things on Amazon.com. It's a little plastic welding kit. I'm just going to kind of work my way across the back side here and then do another part on the lower side here. So it melts pretty fast once it's hot. And we're just going to fill in the whole screen that we just laid in there. That screen basically just bites in, gives it a little rigidity so it's not able to break back off. Like you could super glue it or JB weld it or whatever. I just prefer to use this plastic weld stuff. I don't know why. I guess, I don't know. I haven't had any break afterwards. That's probably the best reason. Just keep on smooshing it in there. There. Now we got a nice fat chunk of it on there. It's smoking like crazy. Smells absolutely great. Smells like potpourri. A little cinnamon flavor. Smells nothing like cinnamon. Smells terrible. Burning plastic, guys. But it'll be strong and we won't have to worry about it again. And then as you mix it together, you'll kind of see this goes from black to like a black and gray mixture as you melt it all together here. Yeah, I mean, I could stop right here, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to kind of smooth it all out, spread it all in, and cover up all that screen. It's okay if there's a little tiny bit of screen poking out still, but I try to cover, a big portion of it, as much of it as I can. And I try to blend the plastics together too. So being a plastic side skirt from the 90s, there's a lot of meat left on here. All right, we're going to give that a second to cool off. I'll show you guys what it looks like real quick. Not the prettiest yet, but we're still working on it. We're still going to smooth it back out a little bit more and make this, like I said, oh, see that right there? You got to watch out where you put your tool. That's fine. We're going to smooth this all out. We're going to make it so this thing can hold on again, and we can put the side skirt cap back on the body and not have it sagging and flapping and all nasty. Beauty of plastic. You can smooth it right back out. Fill it back in if you need to. It's a great little tool. And we're actually going to add another piece of screen right here on the side. So I'm going to stick this off to the side and let it, Jesus, let it choke me out from the corner here. This is terrible. Whew, have a fan, have some air blowing. Here's the screen you get. So just look at where you're going to go. We're going to go right here on this joint right here. We'll snip a little chunk of it out. This is just going to be another extra spot for some rigidity. And then I like to take and just bend it over a piece of, like a corner of something. Get a little L shape like this. We'll stick this down in here. We're going to reinforce it just a little because it broke from factory. First step is melting it into the part and then melting it into the center of it here. You can use a triangular head here and get the plastic nice and hot and melt it. find wiggling this tool back and forth a little bit kind of works the melted plastic up, so you don't have to worry about adding some right here. Just don't hold it there for too long because you'll burn right through it. It's pretty hot. It's like a soldering iron. So heat the metal up and kind of impregnate the plastic with it. Kind of smooth it out. Work your way down to the other side of it. Got to give it some time to cool off before you move down. So that's what it looks like right now. We're going to keep working our way from the front back, and then we'll actually attach it to the edge right here. And I mean, you guys, if you get a plastic welder, you can use this little thing on so much. I actually I did some work on a Nissan 240 on a couple of parts. The clips broke off. We plastic welded them back on. These little things right here save so much money when it comes to, like an interior panel or something that snaps in. If your clips break off or the mount point breaks off, like this right here is the mount point, broke off, I'd have to look around for another side skirt cap, which we're still repainting this thing, don't worry. I'd have to find one on like DSM Classified's Facebook page or try to source one from somebody who has a used one floating around. And then they're going to charge you whatever they're going to charge you. Plus, they're going to charge you shipping. I would just rather spend 15, 20 minutes plastic welding this thing back together. So that way I don't have to spend any more money. There, you can see it's kind of, the screen is pressed into the bottom. Now we're going to press this other edge up into this mounting point right here. So, what's going on, buddy? I saw your message just faded out. Sorry. Trying to focus on not burning a hole in my finger, if you understand what I'm saying. So you just press this into the rest of this clip right here. I'm just going to warm it up. Be careful not to burn any other part of the body of this thing. And once we get it situated in and let it cool off, we can add some of that ABS plastic from the kit back into it, kind of fill it in. Let's see if we can spin it around, get a little better angle for you. You just use the tip of this tool right here if you want. Push it until it gets nice and hot. It starts to melt the plastic. Just kind of seat it into place. Hey, thanks a lot, man. I appreciate that comment. I am focusing on this and not trying to burn myself because, Mr. Jack Daniels and me have been hanging out for the last couple hours, and now I'm melting plastic back together and sharing it on YouTube Live. Don't know why. Just felt like the right thing to do. I've seen so many people buy these panels over and over and over again and search for side skirts because there was a little crack in it or a break in it or something. It doesn't make sense. Fix it at your house for cheap. This kit is like 20 bucks. So now that we've got it started on here, all this stuff is sticking. Melt a little extra plastic in there. But it doesn't have to look perfect. It's on the inside, guys. You just got to get some extra material in there. Keep that thing moving around a little bit. We're just going to put a little cap on some of the rest of the screen that's showing. And then we get to move on to more fun sanding because the exterior of this part was absolutely pitted out and terrible, and it's plastic. So, I mean, whenever you have plastic in a car, you end up with road rash from all the rock chips and the sand and stuff kicking up and just chewing it all apart. And it's never a fun time. It's kind of funny. I'll show you the side skirt in a minute, but the side skirt actually looked like where all the dips were that were facing forward, like toward the front wheel on the side skirt, had been sanded clean from like road debris and dust and dirt and all that stuff. So we're going to repaint the side skirts here shortly. I don't know if I'm going to stay on here long enough to make that happen. Marcellus, thank you, man. That's very true. These things aren't very young anymore. If you could drive a 91 or, first gen car, it's just borderline impossible to find parts. So this thing, there was actually, I'll show you the other little repairs I had to do on the side skirt, the whole part. This is just the front cap, but Again, it's nice to just melt some plastic back in this thing, because if you join it, like you can see right here, the black is what I'm adding and the gray is what is factory. So if you mix the two of them together, once you get some extra meat on the bone, for lack of better terms, we'll get a little extra plastic in here, pull that stick out of the way. Now you can go back through the tip of this thing and kind of mix it together to make sure it has like a good bond. No glue, no adhesives, no fiberglass patch, no crazy work. You're just putting a little piece of screen in there and some plastic. And you can literally, if you don't have this little kit, dude, you can sit there at home and you can do this with like a little blowtorch or something. Actually, I think I have one right over here. This little guy right here will do the same job. Grab yourself a little crappy screwdriver that you don't care about, heat it up with the end of this torch right here, just fire it up a few times, get the torch nice and hot, get the screwdriver nice and hot, and you can do the same thing. Then you don't have to go buy another front cap for your rocker cover. Over the last few hours, I was outside. You know, some of you guys might have watched the last video about the subframe that we got. And it's been really cold here in upstate New York, so I haven't spent a whole lot of time outside messing around with pulling the old busted, rusted one off. But today I decided to go out there and just knock it out. So I got the subframe, the stock one, off the car. The donor one is sitting off to the side of me over here right now, but we're going to be working on putting that back together once we get these side skirts done, fixing the rust and the rot in the front, or the back wheels, in front of the back wheels on the rocker covers, where these things like to rot. That, and on top of the strut tower mounts in the front under the hood there. But our new subframe is all set. We've got our new Volk Metalcraft diff bushings and subframe bushings all pushed in there. So we're going to keep on moving forward with that project, and hopefully I can share that with everybody in the next few days. It's just not too nice out anymore. It's mid-November, so it's crappy out, and then you're stuck freezing your ass off or wearing 15 layers of clothes to try to knock out a project in a driveway. I need a garage already. Anyway, there. You guys can kind of see what I'm looking at here. I'm just going to smooth this out for a second. Just make sure it's nice and attached. This iron gets freaking hot, so be careful. All right, I think that should work. Now we have some place for these little fastener clips to attach to. These little guys right here press into the body. They lock in right on the edge here, slip into place. If I can hold on to them for 2 seconds. You slide into this little spot right here, and then you snap it into the body. So now this little cap right here, let me show you. Now that's all set. We're going to continue sanding and painting and getting all this fixed up. So this one's in pretty good shape. Let me show you some of the other spots that we had to repair. Again, in case you guys missed it earlier. Right here, there's a crack straight across here. And it was pretty clear on the outside of this thing. You can actually see a little tiny slice of it left. We're not completely finished working on this body part, but we did sand it down real nice. We got it looking pretty good. Out of everything right now, it's probably the most prep piece we have. And I've been using some stuff down here. If you guys have plastic panels or anything like that that needs repaired on your Eclipse GST or GSX or your Talon or whatever, this stuff right here is great for plastic parts. U-POL 7061. It's literally made for plastics on the case. So a little bit of that goes a long way. That's going to be enough to complete this whole project. We have both side skirts, the front bumper, the rear bumper, and then we could probably do another car after that. So let me stick you guys back over here on the side here. Oh, that was a beautiful sound. Drink 30, guys, so cheers to anybody who's watching. Can't beat a good old Jack and Coke. So I've been working on this for the last couple of days, getting these side skirts all knocked out. I've got the other side done, but that U-POL stuff, this is what it looks like once you lay it on here. Really, really thin stuff. super strong. It flexes real nice. So I've gone over this whole setup right here, side skirt and the cap with, what was it, 180 grit. Now I'm going to move up to 280 on this little piece right here, sand some of it by hand and just try to reshape some of these edges, smooth out these corners. We have, let me grab the paint real quick that we're going to use, show you guys what it is. Now I went to my local O'Reilly's Auto Parts. This is the stuff right here. If you have the same color car as I do, it's paint code 5261, and this is called, what? Okay, the name changed. It used to be Pewter Pearl Coat, but now, there it is, Pewter Blue Pearl Coat. Mitsubishi 5261, Pewter Blue Pearl Coat. That's the one you want right there. You can see it's 5261 over here, and apparently the number has changed again. I don't know why. I got a couple of cans of this. And this stuff right here, if you guys have rust in your car, I don't know if you guys saw the last video that we posted. I was doing a lot of rust repair work in front of the back wheels, but this stuff right here, SEM Rust Trap, this stuff is fantastic. This is the second bottle of it that I've gotten. I used a small one on the underside of the body where the trunk is, where your spare tire well is and all that stuff. I sanded everything out back there. In front of the back wheels, fixed the metal in front of the rear wheels rather, on the driver's side. I'm doing the passenger side right now. I slapped some of this stuff in there, and this is like an undercoating, but it like encapsulates the rust, and it stays there for a hot minute. So I'm going to do the whole inside of the rear end of this, the differential, all that. It's going to get the treatment. Actually, now that I'm done, I'm going to let that cool off for a minute. We'll go over here and I'll show you the GSX rear subframe that we just dropped out of the car. Got it down here on a little hand cart. And as you guys can see, she's not that pretty. She's pretty ugly. These upper control arms, they're pretty flaky. We're going to replace these, the lowers, the whole subframe, obviously we're replacing. Got the knuckles over here. I've got a busted boot on this side, but if we get a little closer, you guys can see the rust was real on this thing. I can show you the bad spot. I was driving down the road and I could feel this thing shaking like crazy, and I couldn't figure out why. That right there, control arm mount. It had completely cracked, and when you drive down the road, the car would shimmy in the back end. You couldn't figure out why. About 70 miles an hour, just shaking. So luckily, it wasn't in the front end. I searched the front end a bunch of times. It was in the rear end. I didn't think it would be in the rear end. I thought it was something with the steering, or I don't know. Anyways, the donor's all ready to go. Solid bushings are in it, so we're going to keep on moving along with this thing. Got a lot of sanding to do, but the night is young. Probably going to sit down here for the next few hours and do this. Don't expect anybody to stick around for it. All right. So yeah, if you guys are DIYers and you want to save a few bucks, you have a little rust, grab some of this stuff. I swear, this stuff right here is amazing. It's O'Reilly's stuff. SEM is a big brand, but O'Reilly's Auto Parts, if you have one near you, they can get this stuff. All right, now we're going to move on to sanding this thing down for a couple of minutes here. I want to get this nice and smooth, but before I can do that, we have to put a little guide coat on there. And if you guys haven't done any body work before, a guide coat is something very simple. It's the majority of this is gray and purple, you can see. So a guide coat basically shows you where your high spots and low spots are, more or less the low spots. So there's a couple of places that have some of that filler on them that I haven't sanded, like right here on the top of this. I haven't sanded that yet, but I'm getting there. The guide coat, you just kind of lightly slap it on there. Hang my scissors back up over here. You just take some black paint. I like to use primer. I like to use like a really light primer. This Rust Reformer, this Rust-Oleum stuff. I like to use this. So shake this up, and we're just going to mist it onto the bench right here, very, very lightly, and we're going to like speckle everything. We don't want to have like a a full coverage or anything of it. We're going to lightly mist it on there, and then when we start sanding, it's going to help us figure out where our low spots are, our high spots are, so we can add more filler, etc., and make these things look nice and straight. So I'm going to slap some of this on real quick. That's good for that part. Nice and light. And that's it. It's literally speckled. I'm going to give that a minute or so to dry, but then I can move on to using this straight edge here and just kind of work my way down this thing. And hopefully it will identify if I have any more spots that are nasty or low or cracks, pinholes, pits, whatever. This stuff dries very fast. It dries in like 30 seconds, so it's no big deal at all. I prefer to use like a primer or the Rust Reformer stuff because it doesn't leave like a gloss or anything, or there's no clear coat mixed in with it. Like the gloss stuff gets shiny. This stuff's flat, so sands right away. It's real good. Or you can use like a Rust-Oleum filler primer if you have black. This stuff's good too. I'm going to prime the whole thing with this and resand it again at 600 grit before we lay down our pewter what is it called? Pewter blue pearl coat, or Mitsubishi's, what is it? Magenta gray metallic. So, all right. Let's see. A couple more minutes, this stuff will be nice and dry. Oh, where are you guys from that are watching? Anybody? Anybody want to chime in there? Upstate New York is freaking cold. It's going to start snowing soon, so I don't know. I think I'm in the wrong state. I like the warm weather. My car definitely likes the warm weather. The salt has been just eroding it, chewing the metal apart. We're fixing it. Kind of. Well, mostly. Nevada. Oh, Alex Franco, I remember you. That's awesome, man. I wish I was out there someplace nice and dry where I didn't have to worry about the damn rock salt. It is so bad. Up here, they lay that stuff down so thick that, yeah, you are definitely lucky, my friend. I spent probably 20 hours making patch panels on my car. I just finished it up today, thankfully, but that's just not fun. You get the rust pieces in your eyeballs and all that. And then, I had to buy some $80 bottle of a chemical just to treat the spots that were bad. So, New York State, they throw that salt on thick. Glad your car's running good, Alex. That's a lot of people out here. I've been doing a lot of tuning for people, actually. I've been running ECM Link on people's cars for the last probably 7 weeks now. I didn't like post it or anything, but guys have reached out to me on Instagram and all that. And a lot of people have learned quite a lot of things. It's awesome. I wish we only used dirt, dude. I really do. I honestly do, because the salt is just horrible. I don't remember what state it was. Maybe it was Wisconsin or something. They did like a big thing about laying salt down on the roads. If you throw salt down on the roads, the state should be paying for the automobile repair. I could be wrong on the state, but one state went after the government, was like, hey, you guys keep throwing this crap down. It's killing our cars. you guys should pay for the repairs. And they passed it, so now they have to use some special stuff. I don't know what it is, but I wish we did it. But anyways, time to get started on the sanding, the worst part of the whole job. Ay. Looks like there's a little bit of a low spot right there. That's basically what you do when you slap the guide coat on. You just got to be careful what kind of paint you use because it'll gum up your sandpaper wicked fast. Like I have a couple little spots there already off those few presses. So, yeah, primers are the best in my opinion. Most of this feels pretty good so far. There wasn't very many big holes left. There's a lot of digs and scratches in this thing from catching curbs and all that along the bottom side here, or along this little edge, but I think we got most of them filled in. That U-POL 7061. Well, I think I've knocked down the majority of these big chunks that were missing, the big digs. So I'm going to work my way from this end to that end with the what is this stuff? 320, I think, something like that. Keep sanding this thing nice and smooth, and then we're going to lay down some of this Rust-Oleum filler primer here. This stuff works great. Lay it on, let it dry for a few hours, come back over, sand it nice and smooth with your final grit, which in my case I'm going to be using probably a 600 grit, and that'll leave a nice scratch for the magenta gray metallic paint to stick to and bite into. Won't have to worry too much. And I don't think I left very many bad spots on here, so I'm going to have to get my smaller blocks out to these little indentations here all the way down, but otherwise, it's looking all right. I'm actually pretty happy with it. Another thing, these little spots pop up on your sandpaper, got a little wire brush and just scrub them right off. Help you save on tons and tons of sandpaper. All right, I think I'm going to get something smaller out here so that I can do the rest of these edges and the curves and all that stuff. Kind of get on this radius right here. It's kind of a curve. Don't want to do that with a straight piece, so stick this off to the side here, cut another chunk out, and just kind of do it all by hand for a few minutes. And hopefully I can smooth the rest of the stuff out tonight. So tomorrow I'll be able to lay down my primer, or maybe by the end of the night I'll be able to lay down some primer, and hopefully we'll make these things look fresh, nice and new again. Oh, this is 320. Works real nice around the edges. Gets all the rest of the unwanted shapes out of there. All the rough spots out. Whenever I sand stuff, I just kind of work my way from a low grit to a high grit. Bring it up to 600, and I always paint at 600. Once the 600 is set, I lay my color down, and I'm doing single stage, so you're not going to want to sand the single stage afterwards. I mean, you can cut and buff it if you want, but I normally cut and buff stuff when I do the 2-stage where I lay the color down and then a clear coat over top of it. I'll cut and buff the clear coat. The single stage, whenever you cut and buff that, you end up with a ton of paint inside of your buffing pads because it's, color and clear coat mixed together in a spray can. So this is the nitty gritty crap that you guys just don't want to have to deal with. But if you're going to pick up some body work, try to make stuff look pretty again, it takes a lot of this. A lot of sitting down in your workshop or your garage or in your driveway, sanding by hand. Worst part of the whole job, by far. Painting is fun, but the prep work kills you. There's something you can see right there. We got a low spot right there. I haven't hit it with the paper yet, so I'm just going to keep working my way down it and hopefully smooth that out a little bit, sand it out. We'll see, I guess. Move you guys down a little bit. And you want to sand in kind of like an X pattern. So you go this direction and move yourself this direction, kind of an X. You don't want to do circles or anything and leave a bunch of swirls on anything. That just ends up being a big problem. If you have swirls in all your sand marks, it's easier to take out the X scratch pattern than it is to take out swirls, I guess. So you can check out Paint Society on YouTube if you guys haven't watched those guys before. They cover a lot of really great tips for guys that are just starting out painting and doing body work and all that. So they're definitely a good channel. Paint Society on YouTube. Well, guys, I'm going to be down here for a good couple more hours sanding stuff away. This is not the most exciting thing to go on YouTube Live with, but still, it's getting there. It's taking some time. This feels pretty good right here so far. And these things, like I said before, you guys will see the video where I pulled all this stuff off. There was so many scars up through here and really deep scratches. I kind of thought that the previous owner of this car might have drove over some curbs or tried to do some off-roading or something like that, but um, I don't know. I've gone through, I cleaned them all out and fixed them. You guys can see how to do that in the next upload coming up. We're going to get these things looking brand new again. I'm going to sit down here for probably 2-3 more hours tonight, get this stuff all finished sanded, get this cap right here done, because this was pretty bad. There was some really big pieces that were gouged out of it, but I filled a lot of it in. You guys can see the general shape is there. The factory primer, the red is still there. I think that's factory. I'm going to assume that's factory. I've gone over this a couple of times with some filler. Like I said, you guys will see that in the other upload. A couple small spots I got to sand out still. Hopefully, fingers crossed. I know I've said hopefully 50 times so far. I'm hoping. I'm living on a hope and a dream. I want to have this thing nice and sanded smooth. This cap done. Same with the other side, the passenger side. And when we slap these back onto the car, honestly, in my opinion, this single stage paint from O'Reilly's gets you as close to the factory color compared to the 2-stage stuff that they sell. They sell you like the color, and then they sell you the clear coat, and you have to buy the thinner and the hardener for the clear coat and all that stuff. I found that stuff to be, brand new looking, I guess. It came out really nice looking, but the rest of the car has got 20 years of fade on it. So you can clearly see the hood was painted and the rest of the body wasn't. So, but this stuff right here actually blends in pretty good. So I highly recommend the U-POL brand rattle cans from the O'Reilly's Auto Parts store. But guys, I think that's where I'm going to leave it. This is all nice and cooled off now. It's nice and solid. A little mount point for the body here. So she's not wiggling anymore. She was cracked off. We're going to call it right there. I guess I'll see you guys in the next upload. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. You guys have fun out there in Nevada and Brazil and wherever else you may be. We'll see you again very, very soon. Have a good night, guys.